So I have the slide of all the other scheduled webinars for this year, and I hope you can join us for those webinars as well. This webinar is the magic of lettering, and it's designed especially for those of you who are brand new to the software. And this, you're looking at the creator level of software. As far as what you'll learn, I'm going to first talk about an overview of just the software screen. And this is designed for those of you who are brand new to the software. You are entering a wonderful journey of learning the software. Next, we're going to look at different ways to generate lettering and how to edit lettering. And then I'm going to share with you some creative ideas for lettering. And these creative ideas, some of them can be done in creator level, and some of the other ones you can do in DesignerPlus-level. So first, the software screen. I've got it sectioned into colors, and the menu and the toolbars are in blue. The tools found in these toolbars are used to edit designs, and some will affect what you view on the screen. In the software, you will find that there are many ways to do the same thing. You can use a menu item, you can use a shortcut icon, or in some cases, a shortcut key. The more you learn the software, the easier it will become to choose your favorite method. The toolboxes are highlighted in red, and these different toolboxes do different things. We're going to be focusing on the lettering toolbox during this presentation and do maybe some editing as well in the edit toolbox. All the icons there are grouped by what the tools do. And you will find tools to automatically create pictures from stitches, which is what we will focus on next time. You'll find ways to add applique or to manually digitize designs. Over on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see the Dockers area. And these Dockers will give you even more tools for creating or viewing a design. Then the stitch toolbar and the colors are highlighted in yellow. And these icons will edit either the type of the stitch or the color of the design. Now, one thing I would suggest as you're learning the software is that you click on options, which is the hammer and the wrench that you see highlighted in the top of the screen, and go to the general tab and check show tool names. And this will name all the icons, so it makes it easier for you to learn what the icons are. And then as you use them, you'll learn about what they do. We have two basic ways to generate lettering. One is direct entry, and you just select the lettering icon that is shown on the screen, and then you click on the screen and start typing. You can also generate lettering in the Object Properties toolbox, and you just type in the box whatever you want to type on screen and click OK, and then click on the screen and you have lettering on your screen. Now, lettering object properties is a way that we can edit our lettering, and you'll see all the different ways on the left-hand side of the screen that show you what you can do. So we'll be spending some time when we actually work hands-on in the software using some of these different editing features. One advantage of using object properties when you generate lettering is that you can choose your properties prior to generating the letter. If you click directly on the screen and just start typing, then you will have to edit later. So let's first talk about font type. There are two basic types of fonts in creator level software: embroidered lettering and true type fonts. Embroidered fonts have been digitized for embroidery, and there are 60 included with creator level software. True type fonts are those that are installed on your computer, and they're found at the end of the embroidered font. So if you scroll down past the embroidered font, which are signified with the red zigzag that you see here, if you scroll down, you'll find your TrueType fonts. Now, not everyone has the same TrueType fonts installed on your computer. So the TrueType fonts, in essence, are automatically digitized by embroidery software. The advantage of using embroidered lettering is that it's been specifically digitized for lettering, and it's adjusted for pulling. And as you might be aware, if you embroider, if you've embroidered very much, fabrics tend to pull in when you embroider them. And with lettering, the properties have to be adjusted for pulling in. So in essence, the letters are digitized slightly differently depending on what kind of letter it is. So any letter that is rounded, like the letter C, for example, is going to be digitized a little bit taller than the other letters. A letter like an I, which is a column letter, will tend to be digitized shorter. So the digitizer has purposely created discrepancies in the height so that when they're stitched and pull in the fabric or push out the fabric, they will all be the same height. You don't get this advantage with TrueType fonts. Here you see an embroidered font and a TrueType font. They are similar fonts, but I want to point out specifically that in certain areas, and I've got my mouse highlighting this one area of the TrueType font, you may get some angles that are a little bit distorted with the TrueType font. But with the editing tools, you're able to correct this and make a nice, smooth font. You can see in the embroidered lettering, all the angles are great. Here, you would have to do some editing. Then we also have to make a decision about the size of fonts. And it's always important to check the size range of fonts, especially if you plan to use satin stitch letters. With version 9 software, you have a suggested range of height. So that gives you an added advantage in knowing the size that is going to be appropriate for the different font. The problem is when letters are generated and then made smaller, some letters may disappear, especially the I may disappear. And in some cases, the underlay, which is laid down before the cover stitch, pokes out beyond the lettering. So it's important to pay attention to these size ranges. Now, if a letter is enlarged too much, the floats of the satin stitch may become too long. Now, it's okay to enlarge a letter if you plan on changing the fill type. But these size ranges give you a good range in adjusting your lettering size. Now you can change the size in object properties, but you can also change the size visually on screen. And when you select lettering, there are these 8 black boxes that appear around the lettering. The ones in the corner will resize lettering proportionally. The ones top and bottom will resize the height. The ones on the side will resize the width. Another decision you can make is adding italics, and italics can be added in object properties by just changing the degree, or visually on screen through reshape, and by skewing the letter, you can add italics. You also can adjust the spacing, again, either through object properties or through reshape. You'll learn about reshape when we work through the lesson. Then you have the choice of for multiple lines of lettering adjusting the justification. You can adjust to the left, to the right, to the center, or full justification, which spreads out the spacing of the words. Also in this software, you have baselines, and you can pre-select these in object properties, and you can do vertical, horizontal, arced lettering, or this fun any shape baseline. You can also use special characters rather than just typing letters, and there's a select character box that you click on, and then you're able to choose these special characters. Now, after you generate the lettering, there's some other adjustments that you can make, and you can rotate, and there are rotate icons in the second row of the toolbars at the top, or you can rotate through control handles. Those 8 black boxes that originally are around a letter, when you click on it again, you get these outlined boxes, and the outline boxes are rotate mode. The ones in the corners, the 4 corners, will rotate the lettering, and the ones at the top or the sides will skew the lettering. We also have something called kerning, and this is done through Reshape. Reshape is a tool that you'll use a lot when you work with lettering or any kind of design, and it is in your second row of toolbars. Each letter has a selection diamond when the word is selected, and then you activate Reshape. And you can click and drag on that diamond to respace your lettering. You can also reshape individual letters. And when you select the letter, other reshape symbols are available for that letter. And you'll see these reshape letter symbols around the letter B. And you can do all sorts of things with this. We'll play with this in the software in a minute. Now here I've eliminated the stitches so you can see those individual reshape handles a little bit better. So this one skews, this one changes the height of the letter only. This will resize the letter proportionally. This one will affect the width of the letter, and this will rotate. So you have all those fun symbols to play with. And what that amounts to is you can take a word and you can do all different things to this to play with the letters and make a design of your lettering. You can also move letters off the baseline in one direction or in both directions. One other thing that you can do with lettering is reshape individual letters, and you can create your own unique style of lettering this way. You access all the digitized points that were used to digitize this letter, and then you can pull on some of those points and create some unique styles of lettering. In creator level software, you also have elastic lettering, and this is found in the edit menu, not the edit toolbox, but the menu at the very top of your software screen. There are 4 different types of elastic lettering, and you can take those different types and edit them in many ways. The perspective actually makes the words look like they're popping out of the screen. And then the curved lettering and the straight lettering and the diamond, when you reshape that, you have all sorts of control points as well. Another fun thing that you can do with lettering is to change the fill type or the effects on the letter. And in creator level, you have access to a satin, which is shown here, a step, a raised satin, which does layers of zigzag or satin stitch over the lettering. And so it creates kind of a raised effect, much like padded hand embroidery would do. You have a fancy fill, you can apply textured edge, and then you have a pattern fill as well. And this is just another example of textured edge. One other thing that you can do is create applique lettering, and it takes a couple of steps, but you can add an outline first, and then you convert that outline to applique. We'll be covering that in the applique webinar. You can also create outlined lettering. And this is the project that we're going to be working with. I'm going to talk a little bit about the project and a little bit more about what you can do with lettering before we start working in the software. So for a word collage, the steps to create, first you have to decide on the topic of your word collage. And I chose lettering, or I chose sewing for this, and embroidery. And then you want to create a list of related words. And what I did was draw shapes in spaces that you would want to work with. Now, this is an art file that will be posted on the BERNINA website along with the handout after the webinar. And you can access this and bring it in if you choose to work with what the design I provided. Then you just input the lettering and edit the lettering as desired. And doing a little bit of research for this webinar, I ran across two websites that were very fun. And of course, I thought of plenty of sewing words without going to this website, but it's fun. You can enter whatever topic you want at either one of these websites, and it will give you a whole list of words that will relate to that topic. So I sketched the shape. I actually drew it in Artwork Canvas, which is a part of DesignerPlus software. It's a drawing program. And then I converted that sketched background into an embroidery file to share with you. Before we get into the lesson, some of you may own DesignerPlus, so I wanted to go over what DesignerPlus-level has over and above Creator level. First of all, there are 40 more fonts, and you have more monogram alphabets as well. Something called keyboard design collections, which I'll show you in a minute. There are also different fills that you can use, and Artwork Canvas gives you a lot of opportunities for creating special types of lettering as well. So these are just a few of the 40 additional fonts that you'll find in DesignerPlus software. As far as keyboard design collections, these are inserted with keyboard strokes. So you just type in using your keyboard, and you can generate lettering the same way that you can generate embroidered lettering or TrueType fonts. There are 6 collections that are included with DesignerPlus software. And if you don't have DesignerPlus in Creator level, what you have to do is insert each letter one at a time and then align them and space them. The nice thing about the keyboard design collections is all you have to do is type them in just like you would any other font. When the letters are generated, they're already aligned on the bottom. They're spaced correctly, and you're ready to stitch them out. So it will work with those 6 collections, but it also works with purchased collections as well. And this is the brand new Stitch alphabet that is available through Embroidery Online. The nice thing about keyboard design collections is that they save time. You don't have to spend all that time inserting each letter individually, spacing them and aligning them. Another thing that you can do if you have DesignerPlus fills or DesignerPlus software is change additional fills. So you have opportunities to change to lace work, contour fill, gradient fill, candle wicking, black work, ripple, and pattern. So all these are examples of the different fills that you can use for your lettering, as well as other types of objects as well. You also can generate color blended lettering. And Artwork Canvas provides a lot of opportunity for creativity. So you can do 2-color lettering, and you can place letters within shapes. And here are just some more examples of what you can do with Artwork Canvas lettering. Artwork Canvas also has something called glyphs, which are symbols, and these symbols can be converted to embroidery, and then you can edit those as you wish. These are actually dingbat, wingding fonts that you can download, or some of them are already available on your computer. Now, if you're a little bit overwhelmed with what all the software does, I just want to mention that we do have online classes that you can find by going to the website and clicking on Learn and Create and Bernina Virtual Classes, and it will give you the opportunity to enroll in these classes and learn additional information. So now let's do the software lesson. So when you first open your software, it opens to a home screen. And I do want to point out that you can click on the word tutorials. And if you go to featured tutorials, this is full of videos that are on YouTube, but we have direct links to YouTube in the software, and you can learn about the software. To switch to Embroidery Canvas, you click on Embroidery Canvas, and now you're looking at the creator level screen. The first thing, to insert that artwork or the embroidery file, before I do that, I want to show you how you get your tool names. So I'm going to go to Options, General tab, and notice that I have a check mark by Show Tool Names. And when you click OK, you will have all the tools with their names by them. So it makes it a lot easier to learn the software. I'm going to click on Embroidery, and this is the word collage border. I'll open that, and this is going to serve as a basis for adding the letters. I'm going to right click on this and lock it because I don't want to accidentally move that when I'm adding the lettering. To add lettering, I can go to the lettering and monogram toolbox, and if I right click on the lettering, it will open up object properties. And this is what I showed you on the screen. We're going to type in software in all caps. And I'm going to use the free line vertical baseline. So I'm going to select that. And then I'm also going to change the lettering spacing. And I'm just going to swipe across that value and enter 0.1. And the size, or the height in this case, is 0.6. And you can see that I'm within the range that is suggested by this basic font. I'm going to click on Apply, and this keeps the Object Properties dialog box open because I'm going to add a lot of letters here, a lot of different words. And then I click on the screen to generate, and then I'm just going to click and drag to move that into place. You'll click away to deselect that, and you'll notice now Object Properties is blank. I'm going to type in another word, and that is so. If I want to change the font, I can click on my drop-down arrow, and you can see it gives me a preview of the word that I have typed in. So you can kind of scroll through the fonts and find one you like. For this one, I chose Phoebe Curls, and I changed the height to 0.75. I wanted to give a slight slant to the lettering, so for italics, I entered 10 degrees. And then click Apply and click on the screen. And you'll notice that I typed in free line vertical. I don't want free line vertical, so I'm going to come over here and select my straight horizontal lettering and click Apply. So sometimes you can if you have something selected and you want to change it, as long as you have object properties open, you can make that change. Now I'm going to bring this over, and while it's selected, I'm going to change the color. And if I want it to be a little bit taller for this box, I can select that. And here are those 8 black boxes I was talking about. I can click on one of the top vertical ones, and if I hold my shift key down, which keeps it centered, I can increase the height of that letter. Notice that the height changed in object properties. I'm still well within the range, so those letters are all set. Now I'm going to click away to deselect, otherwise it will still appear in my object properties box. And now we're going to do some art lettering. I'm going to click inside of the box and type in the word creativity. For this, I chose Flare script. If I begin typing in Flare, it's going to find that particular font, and then I can press enter, and it's showing here. For this, I changed the size to 0.5, and again, it's within the suggested size range. And this time I'm going to select Circle CW. This is going to give us art lettering. And when you do this, you want to go ahead and click on Apply. You click kind of in the center of this square. And I'm going to drag lost my creativity. So I'm going to have to go back. It remembered all my, let's see, this was 0.5. All right, now I should be good to go. I'm going to take the italics off of that too. I don't want that. Now, when I click apply, I click in the center of this box and I'm going to drag to the right, and you can see that a circle forms. When I click again, and these are both left clicks, and then I can drag down and I get an oval shape. When I click again, I have my art lettering. Now with the black selection handles, I can move that into place. And while it's selected, I'm going to change the color. So art lettering is just a matter of making 3 clicks. You click in the center, you click to the one dimension, and then you drag to the other dimension, click again, and then press enter. For this next one, we're going to learn about doing some basic editing. So again, I'm going to deselect by clicking away from the lettering. That gives my object properties box a clean screen, and I'm going to type in the word quilt. For this, I'm going to use Castle as the font. So again, I started typing in the word C, and then I press enter to select that. I want the free line baseline, which is the straight horizontal baseline. I'm going to change the lettering size to 0.7 and the spacing to 0.2. Now, when I was developing this class, I didn't really know what values to put into the handout. So that you're going to have, as you're creating things, you're going to have some experimenting to do. But the great thing about this is you can try it. If it doesn't work, you just open object properties and go ahead and make some changes. I'm going to go ahead and click on apply and then click in the box. And I'll move this over to the middle of the box. Now, for this, let's say we wanted to change the capital Q into a different font. in order to do this, notice it's all selected. I can't just change the font here because it would change each letter. So in the edit toolbox, you have something called break apart. And what this does is it breaks apart that word into individual letters. So now I can select that letter, and I'm going to use Creative Cross for this. And the Creative Cross, I'm going to change the letter height to 1 inch and click on Apply. And so if you want each of your letters to have a different font style, you can do that by clicking on Break Apart. Now, each of these letters is individual, and in order to move them, I'm going to select them all by dragging a box around them. I'm going to right-click and select Group. That way, when I move all the letters, they will remain spaced, and they will also remain on the same plane. So you can move your letters around in that way. Next, we're going to do the predefined baseline, and this is 3 lines of lettering. So I'll deselect first to get my empty object properties. I'm going to click in the box, and I'm going to write fabric, can't spell today, and then press my enter, and then enter and then press enter, and then type in threads. Now, notice that center justification has automatically been selected for these, even though I've typed in left justification. So I do want center. I'm going to leave that as is. I'm going to change the font type to craft. So again, you get to see the preview of the letters you're using once you type the words into that text box. So I'll choose fabric, or I'll choose the craft, and then for the height, I want the height to be 0.45. And I'm going to change the width of the lettering, which is going to space them out a bit, to 120. And then I'm going to select the predefined baseline. This is that the last one that has the 3 lines of lettering. We also will be drawing a circle for this. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to click roughly in the center of this. And I forgot to click on apply. So I'll click in the center. I'm going to drag to the right. And this time I want circle lettering. I don't want an oval. So I'm going to click. Notice that the circle is now a straight line, and I'm going to press enter. Now they're way spread out, but I can deselect, and each of these are individually entered. So I can select that, and I'll use my down arrow key on the keyboard to bring it closer. And then I'll select this one and bring it up. I want to drag a box around all of them, and I'm going to change the colors of the letters. I can right-click and I can group this, but I also, if I wanted to space these and make sure that they were spaced equally, in your Arrange toolbox, you can come over here and space evenly down. And now, once they're all selected and spaced, I can right-click and group those together. That way they'll behave as a group if I need to move them. Now let's do some colorful lettering. So I'll type in the text box again, and I'm going to type in the word color, but in between each letter, I'm going to put the caret symbol. And that is above the number 6 key on your keyboard. And what this does is it tells the software to insert a color stop between each letter. For this, I'm going to do the free line vertical. I'm going to choose the croissant font. I'm going to change the height to 0.6 and the letter spacing to 0.1. Click on apply. And I am not sure why that happened. Let's start over. It's supposed to only generate one set, so I'm not sure. When something like that happens in the software, just delete it and try again. All right, so 0.6, spacing of 0.1, click apply. And I didn't change I want to change it to a free line vertical. Okay, this time I'll remember free line vertical, 0.6. I want this back at 0. Spacing 0.1. Okay, I think we're good to go now. Let's see, click OK. And notice that when I clicked OK, it really did work when I did the exercise. So let me try one more time. You got to just laugh with this sometimes. Crafted, free line vertical. Okay. When I click OK, the dialog box closes. Oh, the width is 1. That's why it did so weird. This needs to be 100. I don't know what changed that. Okay, apply. Yay, we got it. Okay, now I didn't get my croissant, so I'm going to go back and select that and apply. And now I've got after 3 tries, I have the right word and the right font. All right, now what I wanted to show you with this, I want this, I've generated the lettering and I want them spaced further apart. I can click on reshape and I can move letters individually by clicking on that diamond in the center of the letters. I can visually respace these letters the way I want them to be. So through reshape, that gives you the opportunity to change the spacing to make it visually look the way you want it. I'm going to press escape. That gets me out of the reshape function. And now on to the next one. And we're going to do any baseline this time. I'm going to click inside the text box and I'm going to type in the word embroidery in all caps, or just embroider is what I had. And I'm going to change the font again because let's test out the fonts. We're going to go to the Drifter font this time. I'm going to change the size to 0.5. And this time, I'm going to check any shape. The any shape baseline lets you digitize the shape of the lettering. When I click apply, no lettering appears even when I click on the screen until I digitize my line. So I'm going to start with a left click, and then I'm going to do a right click and another right click. And the right clicks are forming curves. I'll do one more right click, and then I'm going to end with a left click. So you see my drawn line, and when I press enter, the lettering is going to conform to that line. While it's selected, I'm going to go ahead and change the color of that. And if I want to stretch it out a bit, I can click and drag on either end to fill up that space. I could also, if I wanted to change the way that this, the shape of any baseline, I could click on reshape, and you can see I can move any of those clicks that I made. So I can just click and drag to reshape the line of the lettering. And when I reshape that point, the lettering then conforms to that change. So if you do too severe of clicks, you can always change it through reshape. All right, next we're going to rotate and reshape letters. So I'm going to type in the word fashion. And with this, I'm going to choose night owl. And I'm going to change the height to 0.4. Go back to the free line baseline, and I'll click apply. And here I'll click in this box up at the top. And I'm using my mouse wheel to scroll in to make it easier to see how I edit. You'll see I've got black boxes. I'm going to click on the lettering, and I'm going to rotate the lettering. So you can use those outlined objects to rotate the word as you want to. Now, if I want to reshape individual letters, I can also do that. I can click on the word, click on reshape, and then you can see that pink diamond shape. I'm going to select the letter, and then I click on the outline. Now, when I select the letter, now instead of a pink diamond shape, it is a blue diamond shape. I'll click on the letter to add all those reshape points. And by dragging a box around the bottom ones, and actually I want to draw it a little bit bigger. So you can see that these are now blue. I can take those reshape points and I can pull the letter to go below the baseline. I could also click on any of the other points and move it or distort it as I want to. Now, when you are distorting lettering like this, you want to be sure and do a test sew out before you put it on your project, because I might distort it in such a way that it's going to cause too long of satin floats. I'll press escape, and I'm going to do one more letter. I'm going to select that, and I'll go to reshape again, and you click on the outline. That is what adds all those reshape points. I'll zoom in a little bit more. I'm going to drag a box around these bottom ones, and I'm going to click and drag to extend that line a little bit beyond the baseline. So having this feature gives you the ability to just do all sorts of things in editing lettering. I'll click another color to change that, and next we're going to deselect and type in the word design. And I'm going to change this font to Ketchikan. Change the height to 0.5. And I'm going to click OK. And when I click OK, this closes the dialog box. I'll click inside and add the word design. I'm going to change the color. And I'm going to select the letters and again go to reshape. That gives us the diamond control points inside each of the letters. And I'm going to select the letters D and E. And I held down the control key to select both of those letters. Now I want these letters above the baseline. So I'm going to hold the shift key down and drag so that they're above the baseline. The shift key lets you move letters off the baseline. I'll deselect by clicking away, and then I'm going to select the G and the N while holding the control key. I'll select the shift key and I'll move these letters down. So you can move letters off the baseline. I'll deselect and I'm going to select this letter, and those reshape points are all around the letter. And here's where you can just play. That increases the height. I'll select the G and I'm going to rotate that letter. I'll select the N and I'm going to skew that letter. I'm not worried about it being outside the boundary. I can always move that in a little bit. I can select the I, and I'm going to make it just a little wider. I'll select the E, and I can lean that to the left, and I'll select the D and make it taller. So those reshape points you can really have fun with and change the letters, the individual letters, in many different ways. It's just a matter of selecting the letter, getting those reshape points, and then moving those reshape points to do what you want with them. So this one on the left skews the letter. The one in the middle changes the height of the letter. The one on the right increases the size in both width and height. The one in the middle changes the width, and the one that's down on the baseline rotates the letters. Now I'll press escape, and I'm going to move this letter over. Now I did lose part of my my fabric and thread. So I'm going to open the dialog box back up by right-clicking on lettering, and I'll do the fabric and threads. I'm not sure when that happened, but it happened. So I just go back and recreate it. So this was the Crafts font, and size, I'll just leave that, or it was 0.45, there we go. And I'm going to choose the predefined baseline, click OK, click in the center, move to the right, click again, and press Enter. And then I can keep these on plane by selecting the word and using my arrow key to move the words. I'll select them, and I'll go to the Arrange toolbox, space evenly down, and then while they're selected, change the color and group them together. And then I can move them into the center. Now, if you look over at color film, which is the docker over on the right-hand side, you can see that I've got a lot of color changes. And it's always a good idea before you finalize a design to let the software combine colors for you. This word is all one, and what you'll find when you use the optimized color changes, it's not going to combine with the other colors. But I'm going to go to design and I'm going to optimize the color changes. And you can see that I did have 17, I'll now only have 6. So when I go OK, the software has combined the colors except for these separate letters of color. You can, if you want to make this even more efficient, you can individually move the letters, but I would need to go to the edit toolbox and break apart those letters. Now I found that even after breaking apart, the software didn't combine them. So in this case, I can select each letter and use the forward one color, and I'll bring it down, and actually I'm going to change that to color 21 so it will combine with that. I select the R, bring forward one color, and it's going to combine with the red. This one I'm going to change to color number 21 and bring that back one color, so it combines with the blue. So if you do want to have these individual colors stitch out with the others, you're going to have to use these keys in color film to combine it. Now I just have the L to do. This cross stitch is going to have color changes in it. It's not a good idea to break that up and do the quilt that is pictured there. So I will have to change colors a few times with that. So this is ready to save, and you can move anything still. You could change your mind about the font, and you can do all sorts of editing. And you want to do a file save as, and you would call that the word collage, and then save it wherever you want to save it. All right, Emily, I am ready for questions.
Okay, hey everybody, welcome back. Debbie, do you want your camera back on?
Sure.
Okay, let me see if I can do that for Debbie. There she is. Okay, we have a lot of questions to get through. Okay, so hope everybody's excited. Let's start with the most recent ones first, because I think they were about the exercises that Debbie just went over. Marianne wants to know, is it possible to use arrange to center a word in a box in relation to the individual box?
What you would have to do, yes, it is possible, but because this is, I actually applied Blackwork Run. So it is one complete object, just like the color had to be broken apart, that box would have to be broken apart. Sometimes our eyes do a fine job rather than going through the mess of breaking it apart and then trying to select the individual boxes. But if you really wanted it, probably the best way would be to go to the digitize toolbox and select the rectangle tool, and I'm going to just do a contrast color, a single outline, and I'll draw a box. Oops. Over that box, and then I can select the lettering, select the box, go to arrange, and align centers.
Awesome.
So that would probably be the best way.
Okay. Cecilia wanted to know, Cecilia, she's using Creator software today, version 9 Creator software.
Yeah.
Okay. Shelly wants to know, can you change the start and stop points of the word?
If it's probably not recommended that you, because like if I go into reshape here, this software applies closest join. So I would definitely be careful about changing the start and stops, because you can mess up the way the letter flows. If I do this one, see, it starts and stops at the same place. And one thing that you should always do is do a, I've got to move this, it's in my way to get to Stitch Player. So I'm going to just bypass this, and I'll start stitching here. And I don't know if, well, it's showing that it's stitching, but I'm not, oh, it's doing the quilt. Let me bypass through the quilt. All right. So the way, when I changed the stitch order of the, like put all the blues together, it may have messed up the way this is stitching out. But usually it's not a good idea to mess with starts and stops unless you move, if you want the word to stitch from the end of the letter back to the beginning versus the beginning of a letter back to the end. But I wouldn't mess with individual letters, starts and stops.
Okay. Evelyn wants to know, when you click and drag to reshape, does the letter add stitches as needed?
Yes, it will add stitches.
Okay. And the next question is from Pam. How do you decide on the height you wanted each letter to be?
You just experiment.
Okay. Let me see here.
I mean, in deciding on the height, I took into consideration the size of the area it was going to fit in.
Okay.
But I didn't magically know the numbers I was going to use.
Okay.
I had to do some experimenting.
And then Jean wants to know, how do you deselect? It's the escape key, correct?
It's just clicking away.
Clicking away. Okay.
Clicking away from what is selected. So if I have something, let me stop the stitch player. If I have something selected, I just click away. Another key that you can use is the X key. The X is a shortcut key for deselecting.
Okay. Let's see.
Escape gets you out of a function, but escape key, like if I am in reshape, I want to press the escape key to get out of that function. So that's the purpose of the escape key.
Okay. The next question is, Marianne, can you go over what is a satin float again?
A satin float? Okay, with the satin stitch, if I digitize just a straight line of satin stitches, a satin stitches from left to right. So there's a needle penetration here, there's a needle penetration there. This is a float. So it's the thread that is on the surface of your fabric. And if it's too long, you can snag it.
Okay. We had quite a few people ask about, why do sometimes when you're in object properties, do you click OK and then sometimes you click apply?
Apply will keep the dialog box open. So if I'm going to make several changes, that's when I like to use apply instead of OK. OK makes the change, but it closes down the object properties dialog box, so you have to reopen it every time. So if you're making multiple changes to a design or to lettering, if you want to click on apply, that lets you keep doing things. When you click OK, it closes the box.
Okay. And the next question is, what's the difference between break apart and ungroup?
Break apart is a special form of ungrouping. It applies to lettering, to monograms, to applique, to blackwork run. So what it does, it ungroups, but it ungroups a special type of group.
Okay.
Ungroup is more for objects, parts of a design that are grouped together. So it doesn't apply to any specific type of object. Break apart does.
Okay. And let's see. for, I believe it was the keyboard assigning, with a non-English font such as Hebrew, how do you know what keys on the keyboard the letters correspond to?
That is a great question, because you can assign special keys.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what you would have to do, and I do not know the Hebrew alphabet at all, what you might want to do is go to a font website and download a font, a Hebrew font, and see how they choose keys in order to make your assignment. But the software will follow however you want to assign those letters.
Okay. Audrey wants to know, when you purchase embroidery fonts, will they be added to the list in object properties?
Not unless they're assigned a keyboard stroke. If you have Designer Plus, you can do that.
Okay.
Like, I can't show you in Creator Level, but what you would have to do is assign the keyboard strokes. And that is a lesson that's in the mastery. So if you've downloaded the Designer Plus Mastery, it goes over the steps on how to assign letters.
Wonderful. Okay, the next question comes from Katie. Is there a way to have the word embroider orientation of the letters automatically change so they are vertical instead of horizontal?
Not automatically.
Not automatically, okay.
You can in Artwork Canvas, but not in Embroidery Canvas. What you would have to do is go to your reshape, and you would have to use the rotate, and you could rotate each letter.
Okay. Ingrid would like to know, is it possible to use the program in centimeters instead of inches?
You bet. It's done right up here where you see the US. If you click on the drop-down box, there's metric, and then all your figures, like for your height, your width, will now be in millimeters.
Okay. Let's see. Kathy is working through the exercise and she wants to know, what am I doing wrong when I try to align letters and they all end up on top of each other?
Okay, that means that they're ungrouped.
Okay.
And they've been broken apart. And when you, like for these letters, if I select these letters and then I try to align centers, so they are going to all pile on top of one another because they are broken apart. So if you've broken apart letters and you need them to act as one unit, you would select them and right-click and group them together. After they're broken apart, there's no way to put them back together except by grouping them. That's why I grouped this set of letters. When I wanted to move it, they would all move as one unit.
Okay. Jenny would like to know, how can I make a letter bigger than recommended by digitizing it into a shape?
You can make a letter bigger than it's recommended if you use another style of or another type of fill. So for example, if I go into lettering and I'll just add the letter C, click OK, click on this. Let me do a straight baseline.
Okay.
All right. Click OK, click on screen, and if I increase the size of that letter beyond what's recommended, then I could change it to a step fill, and it's okay as a step fill. It's okay as a fancy fill. What might not be okay is the satin fill, because or if you turn it into an applique letter, you can actually make an applique letter any size. What you have to be careful about in increasing the size beyond what's recommended is you want to change the type of fill, either to a step or a fancy if you have creator level. In DesignerPlus-level, you have more choices for the fill type.
Okay. The next question comes from Barb. I'm having trouble enlarging the first letter. Kerning is easy, but I can't seem to get that one letter to enlarge.
Okay, so that would be, let's say I'll select this one. I'm going to click on reshape, and I'm going to click on the diamond control point. Now, if I want to enlarge just the height, I'm going to use this top control point to click and drag. If I want to increase it in both width and height, I'll use this one at the side of the letter. So you have to first select the letter with the diamond control point. It turns blue, and then those symbols will appear around the letter.
Okay, wonderful. Jim wants to know, will BERNINA facilitate the creation of native fonts via the software or sell native fonts? I'm not sure what native fonts are.
Okay, wait, repeat the question, Emily.
Jim wants to know if BERNINA will facilitate the creation of native fonts via the software or sell native fonts.
If you're talking about something like ESA fonts like Wilcom has, I don't know to answer your question. I think that now that we have keyboard lettering, it would be wonderful. That it would be probably in a future update, but that it's right now the way the software is not equipped to download and install a particular type of font group like ESA fonts.
Okay. The next question comes from Jean. Is there an undo button when working on single letters?
Oh yeah, it's right up here. It's the same button that you use. And if I click on that, it will undo. There are 225 levels of undo, so don't be afraid of making a mistake.
That is very good to know. Let me see here. Noreen wants to know, how do you get all the toolbar icons to show up? Can you add another line so they are all visible?
Yeah, when you activate words, it's going to take up more real estate on your screen. But if you see those dotted lines that are in front of a toolbar, like this one is the view toolbar, I can take those dotted lines and I can click. And you got to be careful when you move these around because you're going to have to go slow. And you can always reset those toolbars, but you can click and drag on any of those. And here's another one that I could move.
Mm-hmm. So it's fully customizable to make it easy for you.
Right, right. Now, if you are teaching software, I would recommend that you not do that because you'll want your toolbars set up the way that they naturally are, because most of the students are going to have those toolbars set that way. But you can totally customize your toolbar if you're not teaching, and you can set it up just the way you want it. I can even hide toolbars. So
yeah. Okay, and that is all the questions we have time for today. There was another wonderful webinar, Debbie. Thank you so much. And everybody, we hope to see you on the next one. And we're going to post the video and the PDF handout and that design file link on BERNINA.com in a few days. So you'll get an email with a direct link so you can view that and work through the lesson again. Thank you again, Debbie. We'll see you again. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.